Scotland's First Minister, Humza Yousaf, has hit out at JK Rowling, calling her criticism of his new misogyny law ridiculous. This after the Harry Potter author accused him of displaying contempt for women because his new law includes trans women as well as women. So is it protecting women or isn't it? Well, joining me right now to discuss this is Kate Barker. She's the Chief Executive of the LGB Alliance. Good morning to you, Kate.
Morning.
Thanks for joining us. OK, can you explain to us, first of all, what this new anti-misogyny law is? Because just to remind everyone, we had, of course, JK Rowling's battles over the new hate crime laws, which for some reason didn't protect women, but we were told, no, don't worry, there's a new law just to protect women. So what does this new law actually do?
Well, I'm not sure I am actually qualified to explain it, and I haven't really heard anybody be able to do so successfully. I think what's interesting about it is that so whatever you think about the hate crime laws, it did include people who were disabled, it covered race, age, disability, sexual orientation, and trans identity. But somehow they forgot to add women on the end, which seems to me like an act of misogyny in its own right. So they've cobbled together something fairly quickly, it seems. They say it's been going on in the background. But as is usual, it seems that women may not have a law which exclusively speaks to our unique experience of being in the world, because it's got to have blokes in it as well.
Yeah.
So
with trans women, let's say you can't show misogyny, display hate towards women or trans women, but given that, I mean, J.K. Rowling put out there, they're not prosecuting her, but actually a lot of people have been prosecuted for this, simply stating trans women are not women could be construed by some, we've seen some complaints to Scottish police, as a hate crime. Well, in that case, so which will the trans women, i.e. men, or the women in that scenario be protected?
Well, it is an absurdity because misogyny, by definition, cannot be directed towards a man. And it sort of perpetuates this idea that misogyny is caused by the way women present. So, for example, if you wear a skirt and you put on some lipstick, then you can be the target of misogyny, which kind of plays into that old trope that it's your dress or your appearance that really generates misogyny towards you, which is massively sexist. And the fact is that women are subject to misogyny from birth. Little tiny girls subject to female genital mutilation, and teenage girls being called promiscuous, and mothers being attacked, and menopausal women. And all of this is because of our sexed bodies. It's not because of what we wear or you know how we wear makeup. So I think it's peculiar in the extreme. But they said that one of the Mr. Yousaf said that one of the things that could count as misogyny, for example, might be somebody shouting sexually abusive comments in the street. So the absurdity of the fact that if you wanted to report that, you might find yourself having to go to a sex shop to do so is so ludicrous.
Yes, because the hate crime, they were opening up. You have different hubs where you could go and report this. It's quite absurd. I mean, my thing is, I'm not even sure I mean, I don't like the hate crime issue anyway. I want more freedom of speech. My thing is, if someone is actually being abusive, harassing me or threatening violence against me or inciting violence against me, there are already crimes against that. Why is it relevant if it's because I'm a woman or if I were a trans woman or if because I were gay? Why should that even be relevant? Why should that be an aggravating factor?
I'm not sure necessarily that it should, and you could certainly argue that everything that's covered by these new crimes are covered by other laws as well. But I think it's more of a creeping kind of oversight of what people think and do and say. So it's almost as if a thought crime can be criminalised. I mean, you won't be surprised to hear that we are massive fans of JKR, and not least because she's always stood up for LGBT people. But I think she's doing a really, really good job in bringing to the public's attention the fact that this could really impact everybody. It could be a conversation that you have at home around your dinner table, you know, that's construed to be misogynistic.
But also, I mean, you know, some women say things which could be regarded as misandry, you know, hatred of men as well. Can I just briefly want to ask you about breaking news we had earlier this morning, that Scotland's only gender identity clinic, this is the Sandyford Clinic in Glasgow, has basically put a pause on prescribing puberty blockers to 16 and 17-year-olds. Anyone under the age of 18 will no longer be given puberty blockers. This is in the wake of the Cass report out the other week. There was a concern, wasn't there? NHS England already stopped doing that for new patients. Scotland was going to continue. Still an issue, of course, with private clinics and online being people providing these horrible drugs for confused and anxious children. But surely welcome news today.
Oh, we're absolutely delighted. I mean, the Cass review showed that there was no evidence of benefit for children who were given puberty blockers, but there was evidence of harm.
Yeah.
And it also showed really that the drive to medicalise these young people, 80 to 90% who it was revealed are either gay or bi, was driven by an ideology and not a sense of improving their health or improving even their wider well-being. So we're really, really pleased about this news. And I think it makes a statement as well that Scottish kids deserve to be protected from this sort of so-called gender-affirming care just as much as English kids.
Absolutely. Oh, no, I think it's absolutely wonderful. And you say, particularly representing the GB Alliance there, Kate Bocker, that, you know, how many young women in particular who would have been otherwise happy young lesbian women were basically being medicalised and having their bodies mutilated, be told they were born in the wrong body. Absolutely horrific. So appreciate you coming on the show and your amazing work on all this. Thank you very much indeed, Kate Barker. Very brief word from Claire Pearsall on this.
Do you know what? Kate Barker just had it spot on. She really, really did. That JK Rowling's a hero.
Yep.
Scotland needs to look after children, and the Hate Crime Act is ridiculous.